I'm Phil Brown, Operations Director at Link Integrated Security Solutions. I'm here today to demonstrate the FogGuard unit using the HyperFog insert. The unit comes on a sack trolley for easy to move around the locations, and generally speaking it's powered via mains and battery. Before you activate the unit, you should power it up and get the actual unit up to full temperature. This could take up to 2 hours. So before going to the site, it's recommended that you get it up to temperature and apply the batteries and so on. I'll just take you inside the unit itself. To expose the unit, there are 4 butterfly screws on the side of the unit itself, and this will expose the workings of the actual unit. So you will notice that there's a cartridge to the left hand side, and this will be the fog canister, or the type of smoke that you're going to be deploying. This particular unit has got the standard Purifog, and it's indicated on the front insert. It works on a standard bayonet, so like a hose pipe, just push the unit in, it'll click and hold into place. So to remove, just as you would a hose pipe at home, pull the bayonet and click it into place. You'll see on the front of the unit, we've got multiple lights. We've got a green light, a blue light and a red light. A little bit later on I'll zoom into that so you can see what it is. When the unit is powered on the mains and the battery is connected, which is down here, you'll notice the blue and a green light. If we remove the power, as in the mains power, the unit will indicate a red light. The unit is still able to trigger even though it's got no power, because it's taking its power from the battery. It's not recommended to run it on the battery all the time because it will suck the power, and it'll probably last a couple of hours in between charges. So we plug it back in again, and once it's plugged in, you'll notice that the red light goes out. This is indicating to myself that the unit is actually up to temperature and it's got power. You'll also see the green light, which means it's ready to go and it's triggered and charged. If the blue light and the green light aren't on, the unit isn't up to temperature and it will not trigger. So you must wait until it's up to temperature. So inside, I don't know if you can see that, but I will zoom in later. You'll see the lights at the front. Now the unit itself can trigger for anything up to 30 seconds. So dependent on the size of your site, you'll need to program the unit to trigger for 1 to 28 seconds. Now this is quite easy. I'm just going to unplug it just for a moment so I can spin around. On the back of the unit, you will see there's a button and a toggle switch. The toggle switch toggles between set and time. So in the right hand set, or as you're looking at it on the left, it'll be on the set. Flick the switch over to the left hand side, which is where the set time is, and hold the button for the amount of time you want it to trigger for. So if it's 1 second, you hold it for 1, 1. If you want it for 2, you hold it for 2, 1, 2. Now the unit will indicate on the front how long you've programmed it for by the green light on the front. So I've flicked across the switch to the left hand side, and then on the front here you'll see the green light is on. I'll zoom in later. By pressing the button it'll flash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The unit is now programmed to trigger for 5 seconds. Flick the switch back from the set and it's ready to on. Okay, I'm just going to plug it back into the power so that we can keep it nice and warm. And the battery on the front, if the unit isn't connected, it's just on a standard spade connector. So push that back in again. Okay. As long as it's got power and the trigger lights are on, we're all happy to go. Now you may need to take the front off every now and again. We get around about 8 discharges per sachet, but it just depends how long it is. So obviously the longer the discharge, the shorter amount of times the sachets will last. When you're putting the lid back on, just be careful. Make sure that there's no cables at the bottom that are hanging out, and just be careful of the connections at the top. The holes on the side, and just screw them in with the butterfly knots. Like so. Pop all 4 in. Just be with me. The one in the bottom corners, because it is quite tight, the unit itself, just be careful not to over tighten them or to force the actual housing itself. Everything should be quite finger tight and nothing should need to be forced. So the unit now has got a battery inside, it's ready to go. It's up to temperature because the lights are on. We've put the housing back on and we've got power to it as well. Ideally, you would power it up before when charging or when triggering. It'll just make sure the actual unit itself stays at temperature. And as I said, the minute it drops below temperature, it will not trigger. So you must make sure it stays up to temperature. So just to recap, you will have the battery on, you have the power in, the front will be closed. On the back of the unit itself, we've got the toggle switch and we've got the time set button. So we flip the button or the switch across and hold the button down, 1, 2, 3, and that can be anything up to 28 seconds. Once you've finished timing it, flip the toggle switch back to where it was. The unit's now ready to arm, it's ready armed, should I say, sorry, and it's also ready to go for, say, 5 seconds. If you're to hold it down for 28 seconds, it will fire for 28 seconds. Just going to unplug it. Spin it around for you. You can see the lights through the front here. So if you peer through the window, you'll be able to see the green light. A bit difficult from the camera, but I'll zoom in a bit later on. You flip the switch across, look into the actual unit, and you'll see the light flashing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Flip the button back, and it's ready to go. Okay. When using the unit, it's very important to wear PPE. So the minimum PPE we would expect you to wear will require overhauls. So this can be the disposable type, the white ones themselves, with a hood, just to give you some protection to your clothing. A pair of latex or rubber gloves to protect your hands, and also a respirating mask. This is very, very important. This must be a P3 respirator with goggles as well, so it gives you a full face protection. You must not breathe in the fog from the hyperfog. The pure fog is fine, but the hyperfog cannot be breathed in. It must be used with a respirator. So we now have the full PPE on. We've got latex gloves, we've got overalls, and we've got the respirator. Now I'm going to take this outside just so I don't set my fire alarms off. Once again, well not once again, but that's most important. So before you actually deploy the fog cannon, ensure that you've either isolated your fire alarm system, you've told the fire brigade that we're going to be testing it, just in case it sets the fire alarm off. Okay, we're now at your venue. So outside space is actually your venue. So we're going to put on the full PPE. We have a fob. The fob itself has 2 buttons. We press the button A. For safety's sake, you may as well press both, it makes no odds. But button A is the one that actually deploys and triggers the fog cannon itself. Okay, so if you're going into an enclosed area such as your premises, ensure you're wearing the full PPE and take the unit out to sort of centre of the shop if you can, because then it'll help distribute the actual fog and walk your way out of the building. On this particular example. Once the unit has expelled itself, the shop itself will become consumed by the fog. It takes around about 2 hours for the fog to settle, and once it's settled, you can go back into the premises and retrieve the actual unit. Once again, ensuring you're wearing your PPE. Do not attempt to go inside a premises that's been protected with the hyperfog unless you've got your PPE on. I'm just going to demonstrate it now, put my PPE back on, and then retrieve the unit. You'll notice that the unit itself still expels a little bit of fog. This is due to the temperature and the residue in the tubes. So just ensure that the unit has stopped doing that before taking your PPE off. Okay? Once it's expelled, the unit is safe, you can put it back into your vehicle and go to your next premises. You can remove your PPE. We'd recommend that you change your overhauls each time you use the unit, or at least at the end of each day.